So we are here right now, connecting MongoDB to our Node.js application. But before proceeding to this, I will install some tools in order to see graphically what our MongoDB database contains inside. And I will search for the RoboMongo. And yeah, it does a little bit more, but it's enough for us to use this tool to see the content of our database. I will download it for Mac and install it. Let's try it. Okay. That's it. And when I open it, I should have here the possibility to connect the MongoDB to this graphical tool, right? Easy data access is okay. Let's choose the dark one. And here we are. So here we should create a connection or create a new connection. And the connection name will be MongoDB, right? Connection group at root level. Connection type is okay, standalone. And what's important is the host or the database URL, right? If you remember, our Docker container exports the port 27017. Let's check again. So if we go and search for Docker MongoDB GitHub, yeah, inside the Docker file, it says the last command that it exposed the port 27017, right? Good. But when we started the container, I think we've tried the command from the Docker Hub, which was this one. So Docker run, the name, and the version, right? In order to access the MongoDB outside the container, for example, from our host, we should map here also the port flag. What does it mean? I saw here that, yes, for example, this one, this command. We need this flag, and what it does. So -p is from port abbreviation, and the 27017, it says this, okay, my MongoDB container exposes this port, right? Then I can on some port from my host in order to access the MongoDB from my host. And this is exactly what we need to do. So first of all, I will remove the container I've created before. And in order to remove, I have to stop it first. Then I will remove it. Good. So right now we don't have any container of MongoDB. There are some other containers, but just ignore them. And let's try to run this command. So it says docker run d is from detached p, and let's map the port. So the port which MongoDB exports to our host machine port. the name, let's say again Mongo, and the Docker image is Mongo. Here we are. Again, we have running a new container, but right now it exports also this port over TCP on our host. And if we go to our local host and search for the port 270017, it will redirect to MongoDB container, and MongoDB container will return this message. So it looks like you are trying to access MongoDB over HTTP on the native driver port. That's perfect. Good. Let's see what we can do more here. For example, docker stop command will stop the container, and it will not work anymore here on the application, so you will not receive any result. It's like the container is shut down. So, and when we start it again, here it remembers, for example, if you go in the docker ps a, because the ps returns only the running container, a flag returns all the containers which are stopped and also running. And when we create the container for the first one, or when we run it for the first run, it also remembers the command we specified, like this one. And it's enough to say docker start and containers ID. And it will start the container, right? And the application will be running again. So let's try to use this MongoDB graphical tool in order to connect our MongoDB application, which is running in container, to this application, which is running on our host, right? So I will create a new connection. Mongo, localhost, the port, test the connection, everything is okay, and then save it and connect it. So this is our MongoDB, which has 3 databases right now. Of course, we will not see here in the collection the users collection which we created, because we've deleted the container and then recreated it again, and we will insert the users collection again, and we will see how it works. So let's start with generating a new brand node application using npm. npm is an abbreviation from Node Package Management. Actually, it was installed already when we installed the Node SDK. And if you press npm in the terminal, you should see here what's the version of the terminal. So npm-v, it's 6.13.7. So it's already there and we can use it. Let's start by navigating to my desktop and then creating a new folder there. Node users app. Navigate inside this folder and use npm to generate a node project. The command is npm, and if you use the help command, okay, usage npm and command, and you could use init command. So the init npm init will initialize an empty project. Let's use it, npm init. So it will ask for the package name. Let's say users app. version is #1, it's okay. Description, the users management application, let's say. It was a mistake there. Entry point. So the entry point is the main node file. So when the application starts, it will look for this index.js file, and then it will start the application and to run the code inside this index.js. We will keep the entry point of the index.js. The test command we'll keep for now. Git repository, perhaps we'll add it later. Keywords, and I'll press whatever you want. And this is the main package JSON configuration. So actually it's all the information we've specified here in terminal. Okay, this is our project. Let's open it with Visual Studio Code. So if you haven't installed it already, so you definitely should go and download from the internet the Visual Studio Code. Or if you use another file editor, it's okay, it's up to you. So let's open that folder here. Here we are. So this is our package JSON. I will fix this mistake here, and that's it. So we have an index.js file here in the package JSON definition, but we do not have any index.js file on our project, right? Then let's create one, index.js. Good. We have a script here for test, which just will print no test specified. So how it works basically, we are inside this folder right now, and if you press npm test, it will go and look for the scripts with the name test, and it will find it, and then the echo will print in the terminal that message. Yeah, here are no tests specified, and that's it. So if we will press, for example, some other command, build, for example, nothing will happen because we don't have such a command here, right? Good. Let's create a command, and we will say that start. So npm start, what it will do, here is need a comma, it will start our project. And how we can start our project? By using the node and the file name. So when you say that node index.js, actually if we press on the terminal node index.js, the node SDK will look for this index.js file, which is this one, and then it will execute the code we have inside this file. And of course, right now we don't have any code here in the index.js, right? If you go and press here something like console log hello from node, and if we will run it again, it will print the hello from node, right? Okay, using npm, we will start this code, or we will execute this code inside the index.js by using different command or terminal command, like npm and the script name, which is start, npm start. Then we'll execute exactly the command we specified here, the node index.js, right? And if you press npm start, it will execute exactly the same command, but right now using npm and all the configuration for this package JSON we specified. Good, then the Node application is already, let's say, up. What we have to do right now is to connect somehow the MongoDB to this application. Let's search for the Mongoose package on npm, and this will help us to connect our database to the node. So it's an object modeling tool designed to work in an asynchronous environment. Mongoose supports both promises and callbacks, and yeah, let's install it, and then we will go to the code, right? npm install mongoose. Actually, if we will go here and press on our terminal npm install mongoose, it will download the package from the remote npm repository, and it will load it as a dependency on our project. And then if we install it, yeah, it will download all the source code here on the node modules, and we will have here the mongoose. And this is all the source code the package provides in order to connect to the MongoDB. And let's go to the documentation and see how we should use it. So we've installed the Mongoose, and then yeah, we are using right Node.js, a simple Node.js application without modules. So we will use this import, and of course we will do it here, and then the connection is this one. The connection, I mean the connection code. Let's try it. So the input parameter here is the database URL, of course. Let's create another variable for that. Mongo URL is equal MongoDB, and then of course we are using localhost here because our Docker container runs on localhost, it's not remote. Localhost, and localhost okay, and what else? I think it's enough. Let's specify here also the port. It's 27017. And also because we have an asynchronous call here, we have to embed it in the asynchronous function. And let's create a main function for that. Const main equal async. Just a simple asynchronous function, and put this inside this function. This way, no, format with, yeah, printer. Good, and also I just went to specify here an response, or the first one is an error, I think, and then the response. And let's have it as a return function. So the return callback. So this code is actually a little bit ugly. This one, they uses new URL parser and use unified topologies, kind of a input configuration. So let's say the Mongoose input config equal an object, and then that parameters, or these parameters. Okay. And in case of any error, then let's throw that error. If not, let's just say that the Mongo is up. Okay, let's try it. So it says nothing because we didn't call this function. Let's do it. And we have a response from Mongo that Mongo is up. This means that the connection was successful. So let's go further and let's see how we can insert a user in our database. So as you remember, the Mongoose is an object-oriented data mapper. What does it mean? It means that we should create some kind of objects in order to work with the or to interact with the MongoDB. And this is a very good example on the official Mongoose.js site. So you just connect to the database like we did, and then you should create some kind of an object using the Mongoose model, and you specify the name of the collection right now. So the collection is cat. And you specify which kind of attributes the cat object should have in the database. So in this case, it has only one with the name and the type string. And then you work only with this object from Mongoose model. So you create a new object cat and you specify the name, and then you just call the save method from the cat object, which was provided from this this model. So right now it uses save, but it provides all the methods: save, delete, update, and so on. So we should create some kind of object like this one, like cat. And let's do this. So let's create the user object like here. First of all, we just will say constant user equal Mongoose model and the name of the collection user and the schema definition. Let's say user has a name or a first name of type string, and also on last name also of type string. That's kind of it. And then let's create any user from the let's say the capital U, new user, and let's specify the last name. Let's say Alex, and the first name Alex Any. Good, and then we just call the new user save method, and guess what it will do? It will save exactly the user we've created here in the database. First of all, let's see in our collection, in our MongoDB database, that we don't have any collection with the user's name. And let's try to see what it does here. So actually it says that Mongo is up because we don't have any log here. But if we refresh, yeah, we have here the users collection, And guess what? We have a new item here, which we just inserted, right? Before continuing with the definition of other methods like delete, update, and get users' items, let's do some cleanup and let's try to use some new feature from the ECMAScript 6 from JavaScript engine. So if you search for ECMAScript 6 new features, it has some really good features like class definitions and modules using and so on. So I just went to use some kind of class definitions and modules definition in order to structure our project much easier and interact with our components much easier. So for example, here in the old versions of Node.js, it was necessary to use this require terminology, but now it suggests that it may be converted to an ECMAScript module. Okay, so for example, if we just convert it to ECMAScript, we will expect that it will work, but not really. If we will start, it will say that cannot use import statement outside the module, and that the module is some kind of experimental feature from ECMAScript 6. So in order to start our project right now, we should first of all use this command here, node experimental modules, and the main file name. And I will show in the package.json we have the start command, the npm start command, which says that okay, when I press npm start, you should execute the node index.js command. And right now we have to insert also this experimental module. Good. And it's not all, because also we have to specify here a new attribute which is the type of the project, and the type should be module. Of course, we have another problem which says that the requested model Mongoose does not provide an export named model. So the problem itself is in this autocomplete with the import the Visual Studio Code suggested to use. And actually the Mongoose, it doesn't export a default variable model. And I think is a good start to search for required versus import JavaScript. You will understand much better what's the difference. And so we'll import just, let's say, Mongoose. And then in our code, we will use mongoose.model. Okay, and also the mongoose.connect, and it should work. So the Mongo is up, and of course we should see here another object inserted, which is the same, but it has different ID, right? So that's kind of starting point for using this new experimental feature, some new modules, experimental feature from JavaScript. Let's do some cleanup right now and create some more file. For example, this code which configure and connect to the MongoDB, it could be placed in other place, like in the database folder and the database config files and so on. So let's create a new folder, let's say config, and inside this config folder we will say that we need some kind of DB configuration. Okay, we have two folders, and let's create an Mongoose JS file. Okay, and let's put all the code we have here, like Mongo URL, and so first of all this one, and then the connection, of course. Okay, and I said that I will try to use some class definition inside, instead of plain JavaScript files like this one. So I will create a new class here with the name Mongoose instance, let's say. Good, and inside this class I will have a method connect, which of course will be an asynchronous method. And inside here we don't need these brackets. Inside the connect method we will put all the connecting code, like this one. So we have the configuration, Mongoose configuration input, or input configuration, and that's kind of it. Here, of course, we don't need to call this or to implement this callback function here, so we can just remove it, and we could say, okay, Mongoose instance equal await and connection, and of course this class or this JavaScript script file should export some stuff in order to call the Mongoose instance outside this file. So we will say that export default and the class name. So this file will export this class, the Mongoose instance. Good. Yeah, right now we don't need this variable here, so we just could say that, okay, connect to the Mongo and it will work perfectly. Let's format this document a little bit, and that's kind of it. And on the index.js, right now we will delete all this code. We'll leave the main method, but right now we need to get access to this Mongoose instance, right? So I will say Mongoose instance equal Mongoose instance, and it will import automatically the class. And of course, if it's a class, I need a new object of this instance. And then I will say Mongoose instance connect, right? And let's put some log here. So connecting to the Mongo database. Okay, that's kind of it. And on our connect method, it will execute the same code we had in the index.js. So nothing different. But for now, let's say that we have this instance, and we just print it as a test. Instance to see that it really works. And error module not found. Yeah, because this import also doesn't work as expected. We should also specify the extension of the file here, so in mongoose.js. And we have this object which is Mongoose object which was created and connection is successful and everything works as expected. Let's go further. Next, let's create an user model. If you remember from Mongoose, we need to specify a model in order to interact with the database. So let's create a new folder. In the main project file, we'll say models, and here we'll create a users.js file. And then we have to specify some kind of this model, right? So this one, it is a Mongoose schema, so the database schema which represents the representation of the model or of the object or of the item. And we could start to define the schema. So user schema, new Mongoose schema, and here we should specify the schema. And the schema for now, let's leave the same, the first name of type string. Actually, the type is defined in different ways. So the first name and type string. And then, of course, we have another attribute, the last name, of type also string. So we have defined the schema of the user. And then we could create the user itself. So the users is a Mongoose model. This import is also wrong here, so we have to import it in this way. So mongoose.model, and the model name is users, and the schema definition is user schema. Good. And of course this file should also export something, so the default will be user. And that's kind of it. And right now on the index.js, we could use this users model. But I will not do this in this way, so not in the index.js. I will create another folder also in the base folder of the project, and I will name it service. Actually, I need the folder, not a file. Folder service, and I will create a file and I will say user service. So this user service will interact with the MongoDB and with the user model, and it will get so it will help us to define all the methods which users will have inside this user service file. So I will use also a class definition, so I will say user service. And then we need some kind of methods here, right? Like get all, which of course will be an asynchronous one. And the code itself will return user.find. So user find will return all the items users has so users collection has in the database. And here, of course, we should specify also the file extension JS. Okay, let's try how it works. So we have a new method getAll from user service. And on the index.js, we could instantiate this user service, right? User service actually with a capital one. Let's see what's the problem here. Of course, because we don't have any default export. So I will export the user service class. User service, right? Now it was imported correctly. And the user service has this method of the getAll. And we could say that const all users equal await and this method. And just let's print all users in the console. And here we are. You've printed all the objects we have in the database collection users. So we have to remove this code from there. We don't need it anymore. That's kind of it. So we've printed all the objects. Let's also create in the user service some more methods like delete one. Or yes, delete one, and we will get an users as an input parameter, and then we will return find by and delete, I think, yes, this one. So we have a method here from the users model, find by ID and delete, and of course we'll provide the user ID, and it will return the deleted users. Let's test it. So we've tested all the users, and we have here an ID for returned all users from returned users. We can use this ID and create an variable user to delete equal an object actually, and the ID is equal with this one, right? And then let's print something here. Deleting user, and then we could use user service delete and send the users to delete as an input parameter, and of course we could catch this result from the asynchronous function. So the deleted users will be returned here as a result, and we could log it. Okay, and let's print another log here. Returning all users. Let's see what it does. So returning all users. We have an array of 2 users. Deleting users is this result from deletion, which is one of that object with the ID ending with 99, right? So right now we delete this object, and if we run the program again, it will return only one object from the getAll method, and the deleted users will be null because it will not found any users to delete, and it makes sense. So let's create a method then for the creation of the users. We'll create a method create. We will have an input variable users, and then we'll have to create users from our model or Mongoose model. So let's do it in this way: new user equal new user, and then first name is the user first name, and last name is the user last name. Okay, and we will return the created user. So new user dot save, and actually this await from the getAll, we don't need it here because we use it in the index.js. So we have the create method, and let's also use the, so create the update one is the same as create, but a little bit different. So let's create a filter, and the filter will be by ID. So this is the representation of the object ID from the MongoDB. And then we will return the user find one and update. And the first parameter here is the query, which is this filter. And then the user itself. And here we have to specify some more options. Which kind of object will the find one and update return? So it could return the new object or the old object before updating. So we will say that we want to return the new object. And that's kind of it with the update one. So we saw how the deleting works. We could comment it for right now. And then let's see how the inserting or the creation works. Creating new user. And let's specify the user. And the user will be an const new user. An object, and the first name, of course. Let's say John, and the last name, the grid. Good. And we will call user service with the create and insert this new user. And of course, it will return something, I mean the new user. And the result will be this one. Result. Let's see how it works. So created new users. First of all, we've returned all users, which is only one we have right now. And then it created it again. And if you run the program again, actually it will return the two objects here. So they created last object, but it will insert a new one with a different ID, and so on. And it makes sense because it auto-generates this ID, and it doesn't matter what you specified here in the first name and last name, unless you define here in the schema or the user schema, you define some more options like unique, for example, and if it's true, then it will throw an error and it will say that, okay, I cannot insert this object anymore because the first name is unique. But that's for future exploring. And what remains is to test this update, right? So let's comment also this one, and let's print updating user. And for the updating the user, we need also an ID. Const user to update. So the ID will be actually only this ID will be, let's say this one. Yeah. And then the last or the first name, let's say John updated, and the last name the grid will be the same. Okay, and the user service update method will get these users to update the input parameter, and the result will be the same. And let's print the result then. So, updating users deprecated. Okay, we have here an exception. Actually, the object was updated, but let's check it again. So the first return all returned also the John updated object. So the object itself was updated, but we have an warning here because find one and update and find one and delete without the use find and modify option set to false or deprecated. And what does it mean? Actually, in the Mongoose configuration, we have to set this use find and modify to false, and we can do it in this way: instance set, and the key is use find and modify to false. Set one without these options. Okay. Yeah. Right now we don't have any warning anymore, and it works as expected. So all the methods we've tested, and that's kind of it. So we are at the end of this part 2. We have been connected the MongoDB to Node.js application, and we performed the CRUD operations on the user entity inside this application. So we will check all the check marks here. And that's it. See you in the next video.